Hello everyone and welcome to chapter 8 lesson 4 inner join using the unclosed syntax. In the previous lessons we learned how to write an inner join using the using clause syntax and using the natural join syntax. So to write an inner join using the unclosed syntax, we can write select the column names that we want to retrieve from table 1, join table 2 on, and specify the column 1 from table 1 equal to column 2 from table 2. The onJoin clause can be used to join tables using columns that have different names in the join tables. So in natural join, Oracle will automatically pick up the columns that have the same name to do the join. In using clause, we can specify a common column name exist on both tables, but here using unclosed syntax, the column that used to join or to link the tables together, it's not mandatory to have the same name. So the column here can have different name than the column in the second table. Here in this example, we are rewriting the same statement used in the previous lessons. We want to return the department ID, the department name, the city from departments table join locations. The syntax is on departments.location ID equal locations.location ID. So this is the condition. Join this table with this table using the location ID in the departments table and the location ID in locations table. Here using on-clause syntax, the location ID can have different name. It can be, for example, LID. So in this case, we can specify here L_ID. It's not mandatory to have the same name when using this syntax. So Oracle will retrieve the department ID, the department name, the city, where location ID equal location ID. So here he will return 10 administration city. Department 20, marketing, and the city Toronto. Sales 2500 Oxford. So sales Oxford and so on. So this is how to write an inner join using unclosed syntax. Let's have a look at another example here. We have two tables, employees table and jobs table. In employees table, we have a list of employees and a job ID that contains abbreviation for the job. In the jobs table, there is the abbreviation of the job and the job title. So we want to retain the last name of the employee, the job ID of the employee, and the job title of the employee. So here we have to link or to join table employees with table jobs to return the job title and the employee name and job ID. The common column that will be used for the join is the job ID, So here select last name, job ID, job title from employees, join jobs on, or you can specify using job ID or on employees.job ID equal jobs.job ID order by, for example, job ID. But here Oracle returns an error. Column ambiguity defined. Why? In the select list here, select last name, job ID. Job ID exists in both tables. So Oracle here is confused. Should I return the job ID from the employees table or returns the job ID from the jobs table? So Oracle here cannot know from which table to read the job ID information. From table 1 or from table 2. You have to tell Oracle that read the job ID from a specific table. So how to solve this error? We can rewrite the same statement and we can precede the column name with the table name. So here select the last name from table employees. So he can read the column data from table employees because last name exists only in employees table. Job ID, because job ID exists on both tables, so you have to either specify employees.job ID or jobs.job ID. Here we can specify a prefix, which is the table name. Table name dot column name. You can specify either employees.jobid or jobs.jobid, comma, job title. Job title exists only in jobs, so there's no need to specify a prefix for the job title. From employees, join jobs on employees.jobid equal jobs.jobid, order by jobs.jobid. So as we saw in the previous example, we can use column prefix to solve the error, which is column ambiguity defined. Also, you can give a table an alias or alternative name from the select statement. So select column list from employees. So this is an alias for the table employees. We can give an alias for the table. Join jobs. This is an alias for table jobs. So here, instead of providing the full table name while selecting the columns, you can specify the alias. Select, instead of employees.lastname, you can specify e.lastname. Instead of specify jobs.jobid, you can specify the name of the alias .jobid, j.job title from employees e, join jobs on, specify the condition. So here we can specify the alias of the table instead of specifying the full table name. So use table alias instead of table name to keep SQL code smaller and uses less memory, and so better performance. In the last example, we can apply additional filters using the where or the and keywords. Select e.lastname, j.jobid, j.job title from employees e, join jobs j on e.jobid equal j.jobid, and e.department equal 90, order by j.jobid. So here, without filtration, it returns a list of all employees and the job ID for each employee, as well as the job title. But if you don't need a list of all employees, you can specify a filter here, and e.department ID equal 9. So I want to return the last name, the job ID, and the job title of all employees working only in department 90. You can specify either and, or you can specify where keyword. So in this lesson, we learned how to use the on clause syntax to write an inner join statement. I hope this video was informative for you, and thank you for watching.